Frail Fragment is a music podcast, but we talk about movies, entertainment, sports, whatever's on our mind, open stream of consciousness, in awareness, and making it a little comical on the side.
Frail Fragments, Monster Closet.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Hey, Stefano, how are you, man?
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm great. How are you?
Good, man. This is the Monster Closet. You're finally here. Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024. We have Stefano. Is that Amelio?
Yes.
Are you a friend of mine or are you a friend of ours?
I'm a friend of everybody.
Okay, good.
Funny enough, funny you should say that, actually. I have to be probably, like, my family in general. We were probably the only people living in Woodbridge for 21 years that did not own a copy of the Godfather trilogy.
Oh, wow. You weren't part of the Billion Copy Club or whatever it was?
No, listen, my dad was really against a lot of mafia and gangster movies that, like, portrayed Italians as with that stereotype.
Your dad was in construction, right?
Yeah, we were in the construction business on the tile end, like on the tile side of it. So we owned a business that subcontracted out to tile installers, and of course we were hired by various construction companies in the GTA to install tile in new production homes, and we did condos too for a little bit.
And he was against the mafia.
Oh yeah, my dad was totally against it. However, my grandfather, my dad's father, although against it too for the most part, but he indulged and reveled in the image. My grandfather dressed up like in his three-piece suit every single day. At 90 years old, he passed away at 91 of cancer, but like up until his dying day, his hair was always perfectly placed and slicked back, and they used to come to Canada every 2 years and stay with us for like almost a year. And I remember an incident where this is real quick. Sorry, I remember an incident where some guy pulled cut in front of my grandfather, like cut him off while we were going somewhere, and whatever.
I'm gonna go into how this podcast was kind of born, and you had a lot to do with it, but we'll get to that. What were we talking about before I lost you first?
I was gonna tell you a quick story of my grandfather who reveled in the stereotype of being a mafioso. Like so he got cut off. Whatever, we were driving somewhere. I think we were probably going to McDonald's when I was a kid. My grandparents used to take me to McDonald's, and my grandfather hated the food, but he loved the fries there, right? So he got pulled over, and then like he went up to the driver, basically chased him down and almost ran him off the road. And then when the guy got out to get pissed off with my grandfather got out of the car and like walked up to him like absolute like class and like
ready
dignity.
To shoot him? Yeah.
Ready with his look, and the guy looked at him, right? And he was like, my grandfather, heavy Italian accent, could barely speak English. He's looked at him, he's like, I am a mafia. And then he basically ran his thumb across his throat. Right? He's like, the guy fucking got back in the car and he took off. It was one of the greatest memories as a child, I have to say. Anyway.
But he wasn't. He wasn't.
No, never. No. But hey, my grandfather worked for Mussolini, but he was never mafia. No.
Cool.
That's another story. I wouldn't be alive today if it wasn't for Mussolini, because Mussolini saved my father's life. That's a whole other story.
You were saying that on that Crimson show that you were on. I actually listened to that interview, and I have fucking ADD like a motherfucker, but it was really good, man. Like it was pretty insightful. You were saying you grew up in North York, or was it Woodbridge?
Woodbridge. Well, mostly 21 years in Woodbridge. First 8-9 years of my life were kind of like, I was born in North York, lived there for about a year. Funny enough, it's in the same building that my guitar player, best friend Matthias, lives in currently. That's kind of where I met him. Many years later. But I was there like
Jane and Shepherd.
Yeah, exactly. Right across the street from the fire hall, from the fire station there on Jane, like literally the building across the street.
Cool, man. My wife and my my brother-in-law, they grew up with your guitarist. So they
that's hilarious.
Their mom, Mateus's mom and their mom like worked together, and they were like 25 years ago or something, or 20 years ago, and they became really good friends. And then Mateus would come to like parties back in the day. My wife and my brother-in-law were in a band together, and he would fucking watch the band and rock out. And like he kind of, I feel that from what I hear, it helped kind of mold him to, you know, who he
I wouldn't
is
be
as a
surprised.
fucking player now,
I would
right?
not be
But
surprised.
I mean,
absolutely.
That guy's a really cool dude, man. And you know, I met him kind of when the Android meme started. Well, when I heard about the Android meme, they would tell me stories about Mateus, right? So it's cool kind of how everything intertwines.
Absolutely.
You know, your buddy Davey Wavy from the Red Pill Cartel podcast.
Actually, that's the guy I was referring to in terms of the other software that he uses. That's cool.
See how we're just going like this, right?
Segues. Everything's connected. Yep. I love Davey.
So yeah, he was at our Bovine show for the Halloween gig, and he asked my guitarist if I wanted to be on his podcast, and I said absolutely, and we did it, and we had a conversation, and he basically told me like he does everything off his phone, and he inspired me to do the Monster Closet. So this is like episode 16, but we've had some cool guests. Like we had Tommy Nelson from Phantom High, the last podcast we did. But for the most part, it's a chill, you know, like, you know, it is what it is. We're hanging out. There's no pressure. There's no really agenda or anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I guess we lost Stefano again, but that's okay. He probably can hear me, and eventually he'll tune back in. But
I can hear you. Oh, you know what it is? I think it's whenever the phone goes on, like the screen.
Yeah, you gotta keep your screen on like so it doesn't go to sleep.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah. All these things, man. I had to come across. You know, it's unfortunate, but I mean, this is this. I'm just getting the hang of it, right? So I did the I did the Red and Len show during the pandemic, the lockdown. I wrote like the 5th album Frail Fragment had. I wrote that album, and I did a podcast just because I was, you know, twiddling my thumbs at home, right? Going crazy. So we got a podcast going, me and my buddy Red, but it was more there was more production behind it. Like he had all like the right sounds and, you know, compressed all the fucking audio and everything. This is just bare bones stuff. But I mean, the cool thing about this is it's really raw, and you can just like, you know, we're just having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna edit it a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, bro, it's like, you know, that's what is making this work, right? Because I can just hop on, you know, every day
2 seconds.
Talk to some people, and you know, if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, that's cool too, right? But it makes I don't know, it just I guess all my traumas in life, like having this kind of this voice and this me having an opinion that's out in the ether makes me like, I guess, feel validated and important. And you know, I love podcasting, you know, or just, you know, just having a coffee with somebody and talking shit, right? But
absolutely. Eventually I'm going to start one too. I know Jake, we were talking about something, and I think he's starting one too that's going to be like interviewing all sorts of different people in the Toronto scene, and he's going to somehow relate everything back to the band's music somehow, but I don't know if he's started yet because he's got like several different things going on at once, that guy, so I have no idea. Well, but yeah, it's a new practice that a lot of people are getting into, and I think it's really worthwhile for sure.
Oh yeah. It's just a way to kind of vent and, you know, share information and learn things from people and evolve into something better, right? So
yeah. Well, after listening to the podcast interview I did with on Shining a Light in the Dark, you must know everything about me by now with all the stupid tangents I went on.
That was pretty intimate, and it's crazy because
very intimate.
Yeah, I don't really podcasts I can pay attention to, but seriously, man, like I read a wall of books when I was like maybe from 18 to 23 years old. I read like all the Stephen King books in order, and
I did that too. Yeah, back when I was like younger, though. Very
constantly reading. Once I got my iPhone, I never could read ever again.
It's not easy. It's also finding time to read, right? Reading is
I just lost interest. I can't. Yeah. I can't pay attention anymore.
I don't even pay attention. You know what it is for me? I can't read fiction anymore. It's really hard for me to read fiction. If it's like a true crime, something that was based in reality that happened, I'll find it extremely interesting. But anything that's like a fictional series, like even there's stuff there's a lot of fictional books and series that I've been meaning to read for years, but I find it very difficult to keep going.
Well, it's awesome that you can like focus and do that now, even with the way technology is going now. Because I'm always thinking, do I have to check my phone? Is somebody texting me? Am I missing something? Do I have to go here? Do I have to pick up groceries? I can't. It's very hard to be in the moment and
to immerse yourself without distractions.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me when it comes to memorizing stuff. Like I do a lot of memorizing because of my Masonic membership, and I'm very active. And one of the things is like for our third degree, I perform for our lodge. I perform what we call it the dark lecture, and it's like a 10, 11 minutes depending on how fast you perform it, but it's a 10-minute lecture. So you got to memorize 10 minutes worth of written pages. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like doing that and being involved in that whole thing and being as active as I am has kept my brain from turning to mush in this way of living now, where everything is like,
I'm sorry. Where are you doing this lecture? I'm sorry, man.
My Masonic lodge. Are you familiar with Freemasonry?
I'm not, dude.
Oh, okay. You should look into it. Interesting stuff. A lot of conspiracy stuff related to it, and that's how I got into it originally. But I can assure people that anyone who puts more than 5 minutes of like research, into it can kind of discern which conspiracies are absolute bullshit and which ones have a strong basis in truth. But that's a whole other podcast conversation. And if you listen, to the Davies podcast, Red Pill Cartel.
Yeah.
I've done several appearances on his podcast, and the first ever one we did, I believe, was on that subject. And then I also debated one of his hardcore Christian buddies, evangelical buddies, I should say. And that was a really, really fun debate. I'm going to say I won that one pretty easily, but it was Fraser. It was the guy's name, and really, really intelligent kid. He made a lot of good points, but when you have the truth on your side, it's really hard to lose.
Yeah.
But anyway, so because of that, there's a lot of memorization that is involved. We memorize pieces of like our Masonic ritual, and we perform it in the lodge for a candidate as part of his ceremonial experience, and. So doing that for the last, since 2008 has really like kept my brain from turning to mush. Like,
wow.
So yeah, and there's a lot of memorizing to do.
For 15 years, you've been doing that shit?
Yeah, 15 years. Yeah.
Wow, man. And where is it? Is it in Toronto or where is it?
Oh yeah, it's all over the world, man. So it's a worldwide fraternity, loosely connected. A lot of people in conspiracy culture, of which of course I'm a heavy part of, as you know, believes everything is like some top-down control thing where you've got like this pyramid control scheme type idea with the people at the top and like the lower level guys have no idea what's going on, and it doesn't really work that way. Like, and you've heard, I'm sure you've heard things like, oh, this person's a 33rd degree Mason or something like that, or you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of shit that gets thrown about, and some of it does have a kernel of truth. Like there have been a lot of conspiracies that have happened, a lot of scandals, because any organization that's massive worldwide and loosely connected, you're going to have corrupt people right? Corrupt people will join anything that has a small level of exclusivity to it. And in other parts of the world, it's far more exclusive. Like, depending on where you live, it's generally reserved for a lot more what we consider upper class people. Or in North America, it's not like that, and in most of the UK, it's not like that, and in most of continental Europe. But you'll find that, like, in certain countries, like even like the Philippines, like if you are a Freemason in the Philippines, like you are treated in Cuba too, very, very, like, you're elevated in society quite a lot. And that experience is not what we feel like. That's not my experience here in Canada, nor would it be the experience that you'd have generally in the US or whatever. That's another major misconception. But like anything, man, you're going to have people that join anything with a sense of exclusivity and private membership, and because of the worldwide connections, people have misused and abused the connections of Freemasonry to find like-minded criminals and do terrible things. There's a lot of assholes, unfortunately, that slip through the cracks and find their way into our society.
And do you have to go somewhere like a church or a place of worship?
Yeah, we go. Or? No, it depends on the lodge. My lodge, for the most part, meets monthly. Some lodges meet twice a month.
Yeah.
And yeah, I go to the There's a Thornhill. Like my lodge meets in Thornhill, and so we're, if you know where the Octagon restaurant is, on Yonge Street, just north of Steeles.
Okay.
So there's a beautiful restaurant, fantastic steakhouse called the Octagon. I highly recommend it. It's really expensive, but it's fantastic. Anyway, we're on kind of like on that street. It's on Elgin.
Okay.
Nice. It's just Yonge and Steeles area for the most part, but they're all over the place. And like Yonge and Davenport. Excuse me, Yonge and Davenport. There's the old Masonic temple there.
I was just there to see Tea Party and I'm on Earth.
That's right. So I mean, that was originally, there was a theater in there that and as you went upstairs, there's Masonic lodges and various Masonic bodies would meet in there, and that was like the prime spot in the GTA. I mean, there's lodges or Masonic halls or Masonic buildings all over Ontario, but that one was the main one for many, many years. And unfortunately, there was some bullshit scandals that did happen, and taxes were not being paid. I guess someone who was running the Temple Corporation and managed the building was probably funneling money, and you can't escape this type of bullshit, unfortunately. Corruption, yeah, exactly. And that's one of the big things that my band likes to talk about is a lot of corruption and trying to dispel it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what, like, my belief is there's a God, there's a higher power, something.
Absolutely.
This was created, so, like, there had to have been a creator, so, of space.
Yeah,
do all this shit.
I find atheism to be the dumbest thing in the world, and I hate to say that to people, but I'm sorry. Like, to me, atheism is like high school level philosophy at best. But I don't know how people can, look around them and be like, oh yeah, consciousness, DNA, it just sprang out of nowhere. Yeah, we just all the complexities of organizing the creation of a biological organism just total accident. Come on.
Yeah, and like all the outer space and all the planets,
everything,
like the universe and galaxies, like that just was there.
Yeah, or it was nothing. It was nothing. Well, but what contained the nothingness? It's like, it doesn't take too much to fathom that, like, there's so much we'll never understand.
Yeah.
Right. So, and in doing so, it's like you can't think that within that there's no higher intelligence that has organized and designed, like, the order and symmetry of how everything in existence works. And like, people have this obsession with chaos, and it's like, yeah, well, chaos is just the pattern we can't see yet. There's still a sense of pattern within chaos, despite what people think. It just all depends on your perspective. It's like looking at something from a certain vantage point, right? You may see a bunch of ants scurrying around. It looks very, very, very chaotic. Now, you raise your vantage point a certain level higher, and all of a sudden you can see, okay, so they're scurrying around to create a structure here, whatever. And you know what I mean? Like, and as you go, there's just different levels of chaos and order. It all depends on your perspective.
Yeah, I think everything happens for a reason. That's my belief.
Yes, I agree.
And you know, whether we understand it or not, it is what it is. And it's like when we drop a pebble in the ocean, it creates ripples and it changes everything, and it goes outwards, and it affects that whole ocean. Even though we might not be able to see it affect it, it is affected. So every good deed we do, every bad deed we do affects the whole world, right? So that's,
I agree 100%.
That's all I know. And
we have a responsibility to live our lives with that knowledge, right? And to do our best to affect the world in a positive way.
And it's unfortunate that like people forget that. And dude, I had to go to psychotherapy and do meditation, awareness meditation, and like to have like breakthroughs like this where I remember that, you know, there's something else out there. Be in the moment. We think fucking hundreds and thousands of times a day in the future or the past. It's very hard to be in the present, right? And to see the miracles happening all around you all the time. And
absolutely. And I should say too that we have to kind of balance though that so you can live in the moment, and it's very important to do so that you're not like kind of just like a passerby or like a bystander of your own life. You really want to be able to take ownership of yourself in the moment. But in doing so too, you always have to balance the future and the past in the sense of having respect for what you're doing in the moment and how it affects others, like you mentioned. So life and consciousness is a constant balancing act, I think.
Yeah. What are your plans for the Android meme in 2024? Do you guys have any crazy plans?
Oh, we've got crazy plans. We're going to be very, very ambitious this year. So, it's been a year now that we've been kind of out there again, 2023, like we started in 2022 playing shows again, but it wasn't really until 2023 that, a lot of, we played the most amount of shows we played in a long time. And being back from a very long, pretty much almost a decade hiatus. And now it's like, 2023 was kind of like the comeback year. We released an EP called Crossing the Rubicon, which of course, that phrase and that term in and of itself means kind of you reaching a point of no return. And it's like you cross the Rubicon, it's like there's no going back, right? So we've crossed that point now, and 2024 is going to be a year where we write and complete a full-length album. Nice. I already have, it's all pre-conceptualized, and we're also going to I want to create like a full-on kind of story that concept, like it's going to be a concept album, as our albums tend to be.
Okay.
And I want to create this massive kind of like AI driven movie, in a sense, that's going to be broken up into several episodes, with each song kind of acting like a soundtrack. So nowadays as a band, we're not just musicians anymore, at least not if you really want to be successful. Unfortunately, we're brands now. Like the days of writing, recording music and then putting it out as a band, for the most part, like it doesn't work that way anymore. In order to really gain traction and to make a living and do whatever, is like you have to sell more than just your music, because music is now a cheap commodity that you can get, and listen to. You can upload all your stuff onto a distributor, and everything now is in streaming, or no one really values the actual music anymore. No one is waiting in line to buy a CD or a record. Like I really miss those days. So now it's like we're selling an experience. We're selling a brand, and you have to kind of create your brand, and your brand kind of has to transcend modalities and transcend media. And so that's kind of like as much as I really, really, really do miss the old days, it's a different, different world now, and we have to accept it. And there were the gatekeepers of the past, so the A&R people, labels, and promoters and agencies, where you had to get your band to a certain level of recognition and draw ability and cause a buzz, and then the gatekeepers would then be like, okay, we can make money off of you, so now we'll sign you and exploit you, and if you're lucky, you don't get exploited too bad, you might make some money if you made some good decisions. Maybe you're lucky and your band does explode and whatever, and you can become like a Linkin Park 25 years ago. But right. It doesn't work that way anymore, right? So now it's like there's a new kind of set of gatekeepers, but it's a bit different. Now it's kind of like you got to get past the noise, because before there were so many bands that were kind of chosen in a sense, but now it's like you have to put out. Now there's like a million times more bands, and everyone has access to being out there, being visible. And now everyone, in terms of listeners and viewers and fans, are kind of severely overwhelmed and overstimulated by all this music, that like it's so difficult, and it gets worse and worse every year. Like not sure if you guys have ever ran any like Meta, like Facebook, Instagram ads or whatever, but like if I would have restarted the band back in, like, say 2015, 2016, 2017, well, actually that's kind of on the time we went on the hiatus, but let's just say we never went on hiatus, and we got into advertising and that stuff, like 6, 7, 8 years ago. What we would have achieved with Facebook ads and Meta, like Instagram ads back then, like we would have been far ahead of the game than we are now. It's everything changes. People's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Look, we've got TikTok now, and now you got to put out a video and you got to grab someone's attention within the first, you have to have a pattern interrupt, they call it, the first split second, where an image or a sound or something that just catches people's eyes, because we're just constantly scrolling, and what can stop the scroll and get you to look at this freaking video for like more than 3 seconds, like this is the world that we've kind of developed into. And I mean, I hate it, don't get me wrong, but it does have its advantages. Like now we can reach a lot of people on our own, as long as you've got the patience, you've got some decent ideas, and you're willing to work really hard at trying to kind of find what works for you. Eventually you will. So I think that as long as your music is half decent and you've got, something to put out there that people can relate to, you just got to be able to get past the noise and reach your audience, and find a way for them to kind of to interact with you. And then once that happens and you pick up enough steam, then I think, then yeah, you've got your brand going, and you've got, the all-encompassing image that you're trying to push. And that's what people relate to. They're relating to your brand now. It's not just the music, it's your merch, it's your visuals, it's your message. Like you have to kind of have a bunch of things or you're just getting lucky and you just have a really good song that someone saw a video of. I mean, who the hell knows? But times are totally different now, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, man. I find you very, very insightful. You have to learn how to transition and not transmit. If you're transmitting, you're like stagnant, you're not moving.
Yeah.
The world is constantly changing, and you gotta be able to change. But at the same time, you have to remember to check in with yourself and find the jewel within yourself to be happy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
While you're doing this, or else you'll never be satisfied. And sometimes that's good too. You could make, our traumas make Michael Jordan's as well, right? It just depends. You really have to have, like you were saying, both things, right?
I think there's a choice you have to make. You can take your trauma and you can be a victim, and you can let it control and rule your life and blame everything on your trauma. Because of my trauma, I can't do this, I can't do that, and the whole woe is me life. And listen, things are going to happen in your life. Tragedies are going to occur, and you're going to take your 2 or 3 days to grieve. You're going to take the time to kind of deal with it emotionally. But then at a certain point, you have to kind of snap back into yourself and realize that you can waste away and be a victim and bitch and complain, but you're never going to get anywhere. You never, I mean, and if you've got zero ambition in life, or you've got, you don't want to put anything out there, that's fine. Please, not everyone has to. And the less people that do that, the more room for you and I to navigate what we're trying to do. But people have to live their lives with a sense of purpose and take their traumas and use that to fuel your creativity, to fuel whatever it is that you want to do to make this world a better place.
Very good. And where do you record your music, man?
So right now, what we do is between my place in Oakville and Jake's place in Midland, north of Barrie. Okay. Yeah, so we kind of, unlike in the past where we used to have our own like rehearsals. I mean, we do have a rehearsal space, but we used to kind of live in our rehearsal space years ago. When I had my family business, we had a unit built in the warehouse, and it was like a 700. That was at it's kind of right across the street from Long and McQuaid at Steele on Keel and Steele's area. Yeah. So we were on Petrolia. Yeah. The same street there. And so 1155 Petrolia. And so we had like a 700 plus square foot unit, climate controlled, soundproofed, and everything that we had built in there. And that was like our home base. We called it Meme Town or the unit or whatever. Nice. And we hung out there, we wrote there, we lived there. Like we were always there, and then that's how the band really kind of was molded and formed. And then unfortunately, when we lost the family business and all that came crashing down, then we kind of became nomads and we were sharing spaces with various bands. And then we kind of moved into the Geary rehearsal factory with Alpha Galates and I think even at one point Die Mannequin was kind of using that room, and then they ended up moving into another room. But a couple bands, and actually I think we were in a room across from the Trues as well.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and but that only lasted for so long, and then we ended up running into a lot of the bullshit that we did and went on our hiatus. But now it's different. We're not really a jam band right now. Right now we kind of we all kind of home record certain concepts and ideas, and then we kind of pass it around, and then we hit a certain level that we're happy with structurally, and then we'll kind of I'll send ideas and stuff. Matthias will come over here, record a bunch of different things. We'll send it to Jake. Jake will add his thing, or vice versa. Jake will kind of get a structure of a song going, send it to me and Matthias, and then we'll add our stuff, and then when we're happy with it, then we'll all kind of go up to Midland and do whatever final touches, and we'll do our own kind of rough mix of the song. And then now we'll go to Brett Carruthers at Desolation Studios. Brett Carruthers of the Primitive Evolution, and also the bass player of the Birthday Massacre. Yeah. And he will mix and add his magic to our songs. And
does he master it, or somebody else masters it?
We send our mastering to Roger Lee in New York, and he used to be at Master Disc. I believe, was it Master Disc or Sterling? I think it was Master Disc, but now he has his own thing. He's mixed a Rush album. I think he's even done or not mixed, sorry, he's mastered a Rush album. He's mastered, I think, even a Nirvana album, if I'm not mistaken. At least he was part of those projects anyway at some point.
Well, this is why I'm asking, right? Because your fucking album sonically sounds incredible. You know what I mean? So fuck.
Thank you. Yeah, and you can do your own mastering too, and you learn how to do it. And I think eventually,
I don't think you can, dude. I don't think I've tried, and it's like
it's different. You have to really, really kind of have that experience. And Roger's been doing it for God knows how long. So we stick with him for now. I don't mind. He gives me a good deal, but once again, we can learn to do everything ourselves. But there's I still like the idea of having other people's ears on something. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest, man. As much as I love Roger's mastering, I think Brett has made the difference for us. Okay, and I encourage anybody within the GTA to see Brett Carruthers if you really want to elevate your mixes. I know there's a million other probably mixing artists and, you know, producers out there, but I gotta tell you, seeing Brett work and being and you know, just I'm amazed at that man's skill. And you know, for our genre especially, I think he's like top notch. I know every genre kind of has a certain feel and vibe, but if you're in the kind of like hard rock, electronic rock, anything that's kind of within that frame, like kind of like you mentioned before with Tommy, like so Phantom High works with Brett as well, and I believe Brett is mixing and probably even producing, full on producing their new stuff. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. He's actually taking on a heavier role too, with production and with producing as well. So we're taking him more raw material. Before we took a song that was like 99.99% finished, and he would kind of like mix it and maybe add a little thing here and there. But now we're going to him with far less of a finished product.
Yeah.
And we're allowing him to mold it a lot more than we did in the past. So the newer stuff, like we're about to drop a new song. And I say it's a new song in that it's never been released. And it's a song that was part of the last bunch of songs that we did with Matthew Wagner, God rest his soul.
And he was awesome, man.
And he was amazing.
Really good.
Yeah, before he passed away. And I just needed to record vocals on this track. And so I did that with Brad, and just that experience alone of recording. Like Jake, you know, produces my vocals for the most part. And he was always been there to kind of like, you know, guide me and let me kind of do my thing emotionally or whatever. And now I got to experience that working with Brett, and that was a fantastic experience too. So we're about to release a new song called Window sometime in the next month.
Yeah.
And we're at the mixing stage right now. And the song has taken on like a totally, I don't want to say totally new feel, but it's really taken on a very specific feel compared to what the state that it was originally in when the way Matt had left it before he passed away. When at the time I thought I just had to, you know, record a bunch of vocals, get those done, and then boom, the song's ready. But like already the song has morphed into something else, and it's way more aligned kind of, I think, with where we're going direction wise. And it's going to be a heavier song. Like we spent the last year putting out stuff that's a little bit more 80s inspired in some ways. And kind of wanted to get back with that. And Crossing the Rubicon was supposed to be a mishmash of some of the unfinished stuff that we did with Matt and some new stuff that Jake and I, Matthias, wrote. But now it's kind of like this new song Window, although part of the Matt Wagner era, I think that the style of it is really going to kind of like push us into going back to a little bit more of our heavier elements that we had on some of the songs on the last full-length album Ordo Ap Ko that we put out in 2011.
Nice, man. I love that song Left Right Parasite from
we haven't played that in so long. We want to play that again.
I love
that's such a great song. It does a number on my voice though because of the screaming in that song. It's so intense.
Yeah, I really like that one. And you guys are, well, hopefully you still are playing my birthday party Saturday, May
100%, 100%.
2024, at the Dakota Tavern. We're gonna have Starbeast close the show. It'll be really cool, man. So, and he's that guy Ruben. He's an awesome producer too, man. Like
that's what I hear. Davey was telling me
he's fucking good too. So, I mean,
I didn't really get a chance to speak to him.
He's a talented guy, dude.
At the show, but I'm sure if I meet him. Or I mean, I've met him, but I'm sure if I got to talking to him, then I would. Have the same level of appreciation.
Well, this is what it is. Like I like those guys so much that I offer them basically any show that I can offer, that I book, that I can offer them that makes sense, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing the same thing with the Android meme as well. Like
yes, you have been.
I will do it, right.
For which we are always appreciative.
No, man, because it's I like you as a person. I think we're on the same team. I think you're very opinionated. 100%. You're very opinionated, and I love your advice. And I mean, I'm looking forward to 2024. We're not going to do too many shows, but like that's another thing. So Phantom High have agreed to play with us Halloween 2024. You guys should jump on that. We should fucking throw a cool fucking show.
Book us. Yeah, exactly. We're there. All you have to do, Glenn, all you have to do is ask. And listen, let's just say in some future time that we are able to find a certain level of success, which I truly believe in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I believe we will get there. It's just a matter of time, patience, and money. Okay.
Yeah.
Realistically. So, but no matter what, I tell this to anyone who gets involved with us here on the ground floor. No matter how high we go, no matter what levels we reach, I make a promise to everyone who gets involved with us at this stage, that supports us at this stage, is that we will never forget you.
Yeah.
I have a certain level of integrity of which I live my life, and I will never, I will always respect and always give time to anyone who gave us their respect and their time. And you are one of the people that have definitely done so. And I make this promise to you now on this podcast, for which you can always hold me to account in the future should I ever stray. You guys will always have my respect. And if you ask me to do anything, you ask the Android me to appear in any capacity, we will always be there as long as we are physically able to do it. You know what I mean? As long as there's nothing that's, preventing us, that's any type of serious event, or, you know what I mean? Like, as long as we can physically do it, we will always be there.
Right on, brother. Okay, so we're gonna head out now. I like to keep the show kind of short, but it was a pleasure doing business with you.
It's a pleasure being on.
If you've never heard of the Android Meme, or you've never heard them before, check them out. I mean, if I were to say off the top of my head, they're like if Peter Gabriel and Orgy had an orgy.
There you go.
So check them out, man. I like what they're all about. I like their attitude. And they're gonna be playing with us May 4th. We've got a show coming up February 3rd at Sneaky D's. Nice.
It's an early one. We're on at 7:45. It's a bit of a warm-up show, I guess, because around the time that we're playing your birthday, we're going to be setting up a bit of a tour. So in Ontario, possibly Quebec, and then if feasible, maybe we'll head out into the East Coast as well. But we might make the May 4th show our like main Toronto gig. If you don't mind.
I don't mind at all, bro.
And so, we're going to try our best to get as many people there again as possible.
Just create fires, like our shows,
absolutely.
Just keep pushing. But that's awesome. All right, Stefano, thank you for doing this, man.
Pleasure. Sorry for missing your call this morning.
No problem. I understand, man. Like, those are more important things, bro. Trust me.
I get it. I know. You're a family man. I respect you so much.
Take care, buddy.
You too. Thanks.
Peace.
Ciao. Bye.
Frail Fragments Monster Closet.